Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review, and in this video I'm going to review Magdalene by FKA Twigs. I don't know what to say about this one. I was waiting for a very long time for a new FKA Twigs album because the very first album she did, her debut, was a really special and really exceptional work of alternative contemporary R&B, a quite different pop album for its time. I even got it on vinyl. I think it's a really great work, having some really interesting production to it. Do I think it's one of the best pop albums of this decade? Probably not, but it's an album that I quite like and I quite appreciate for what it is. For a very long period of time, FKA Twigs would release absolutely nothing. And finally, this is her comeback after 5 years. And this is what we get after 5 years. Magdalene is an extremely disappointing album in my opinion. I really didn't like this album all that much. And especially with some of the teaser tracks, I got really worried while getting into this album. At first she released the track Cellophane, which is an okay track. I think that Cellophane is an actually okay track and it got me a bit hyped for this album. However, I ended up feeling like not coming back to this track, and the more I listen to it, the more I think that this track feels a bit empty. There could have been more to it instrumentally. I think the vocals from FKA Twigs are incredible. Once again, FKA Twigs has a gorgeous delivery and there are some nice sort of glitch pop moments here and there. But there could have been more to this track in my opinion. But then we get into some tracks that I really don't care for. Like Hoary Terrain featuring Future. Out of all people that you could have featured on your album, your only feature is actually Future. This track feels so disconnected compared to the rest of the album. It's actually baffling why this is a track from an FKA Twigs album. Future really offers absolutely nothing to this track, and its whole vibe is really not that good. I think Holy Terrain has one of the weakest vocal deliveries from FKA Twigs, and this is such a lackluster instrumental and so bland that I cannot believe that there were 4 or 5 producers part of the making of this beat. And then she released Home With You, and god, this song is not good. The instrumental to it, it's so minimalistic, it's almost non-existent, and those whispery vocals from FKA Twigs, they're not good. The track in general tries to have a few experimental, sort of glitchy moments here and there, especially on the second half. It tries to get a bit brighter, more emotional toward the ending portion of the track, but this is really not enough. And even the experimental parts don't feel something really that groundbreaking or that great. There are so many other pop artists that have used some really weird and experimental glitchy parts, and they have been done way better with way more detailed instrumentals and much more variation. So with that being said, after listening to tracks like Holy Terrain and Home With You, I was really disappointed and I didn't have that many expectations getting into this album. I would get less and less hope for a really solid second album from FKA Twigs. I just had hope that some of the deeper cuts would offer something better, which fortunately it's a bit of the case with some of the cuts over here. There is not really another moment to the track list that would be as disconnected as Holy Terrain, and there's not also another track that has this whispery vocal delivery like Home With You. The vocals from FKA Twigs is definitely the thing that stands out the more of this album. It's definitely the best part of Magdalene. Her vocals are gorgeous and at some points they are really varied, and it's definitely the main focus on the album, where it stands for, because it feels a lot like it's almost an a cappella album. So it's a bit unfortunate that almost each track over here has really minimal instrumentation to it, because I'm not really that much of a huge fan of how almost non-existent the instrumentals are. Thankfully, the vocals from FKA Twigs cover almost the entire album pretty well. And we have some interesting moments, and I would say that one of my favorite ones was actually the last teaser cut that was released from this album, which was Sad Day. This track has a really great chorus to it, and I like its progression. It gets a bit more passionate, it feels like one of the more emotional cuts over here, and I like its production, I like some of the sounds, and I like that it progresses to something more epic at the end. But by far what's my favorite moment of the album has to be the track Fallen Alien. I think it's the one track that feels the most alive. It's the one track that has the most grand instrumental to it. I like the multiple vocal inflections on this track, and in general it's one of those tracks that really manages to stand out both instrumentally and vocally. Other than that, I wouldn't say that there is another moment that really impressed me as much, because tracks like Thousand Eyes and Mary Magdalene, there could have been more to them. I'm more on the fence to it like I was with Cellophane. I think that these tracks have some really interesting ideas, and I think that all of them have some really gorgeous vocal deliveries, which is the mainly thing that stands out in these songs, and it's the main thing that carries them throughout their entirety. But if there was more to it musically, the tracks could have potentially be better. Even the epic rise on the ending portion of the track Mary Magdalene is not really that enough to make this 5-minute track feel really that fulfilling. And then there are also the tracks Mirror Hard and Daybed, which are also examples of extremely minimal and forgettable instrumentation, and the vocals is the only thing that carries these tracks throughout. For such a short album being 39 minutes long and only 9 tracks, this thing became really boring, and I wouldn't even say that there is that much of replay value to it. Its sound got old really fast. I think there are some nice parts in the production, but it's just small parts. As full tracks, they feel so empty, so lackluster, with only FKA Twigs' vocals being the only thing that carries almost all of the songs, because there are moments like Holy Terrain and Home With You where the vocals don't really add up to something really that impressive. And I've seen so many people getting so hyped with this album, praising this as the album of the year, and I can't really see why. I am a bit indifferent towards the album. I'm sorry, but I don't really get it. In my opinion, Magdalene is a huge disappointment. I'm going to give this album a 5- out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.